Well, hello, that's me again, and it is the 10th of June 2022. It's Friday, so yes, as you know me, I like to spoil things, for you going into weekend, but there are some things which you really need to talk about, and I hope not to make it the usual almost half an hour, so I'll just kind of keep it straight. We'll start with this interview of General Tweedy. Not really interview, his discussion at the Council on Foreign Relations involving Richard Haas and another gal. I don't really care who she is, some Slavic or Russian name, so yeah, you can forget it that she is a good specialist in Russia. But the fact is that General Tweedy raised the spectrum of the military catastrophe for armed forces of Ukraine when he stated that, and I will leave the link to this piece in the Foreign Affairs, the main rag of the Council on Foreign Relations, when he raised the spectrum of the catastrophe, when he stated, we knew that they started talking about Ukrainian troops at around 200,000 people at the immediate front lines, which were concentrated primarily or stretched primarily along the previous borders of the Lugansk and Donetsk republics and stretching here and there into Mariupol and, in Kharkov and things of this nature. Now, because he said, yeah, they started with the 200,000 troops, can you tell me where they are now? And he is absolutely correct. He is a professional general, and he asks immediately the question of the losses. The number which started to circulate in Russia, and this is not a basically off-the-wall number, is the fact that we are looking at around 50,000 plus killed and around 61,000 or 64,000, I don't remember, you can easily look it up, missing in action. Nobody knows the whole number of the wounded or what is called sanitary losses of Ukrainian troops, which, and again, sanitary is the ones which you take out of the from the battlefield due to wounds. And usually what is called in Russian it's called cargo 300 for wounded and cargo 200 for killed in action. So those 300s, or so to speak, or which are sanitary losses, probably are devastating because we don't even know how many of them actually return. And fact is, you already saw yourself that even the office of Zelensky and the advisors there begin to admit that, well, we lose about 100 to 200 killed in action daily, and then Minister of Defense of Ukraine adds the really horrendous actually count, speaking about wounded, sanitary losses. They say 500 a day. So add 200 KIAs and 500 sanitary, and these are probably somewhat lower numbers by Ukrainians themselves. Then you have what, 700 plus personnel, military personnel removed from the battlefield every day. It's more than one battalion a day is wiped off the table of organization and equipment, if you wish, of the armed forces of Ukraine. That is why the front is collapsing, and that is why you suddenly cannot find that much on the, for example, front page of Yahoo, which even 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago was filled with all those news about Ukrainians killing, I don't know, 10,000 Russians a day and things of this nature. But now, of course, what you have is just plain simple, crude, and really shameless Ukrainian, which is, in reality, United Kingdom and U.S. propaganda. And now, because they cannot come up with anything, cannot show anything, they can't, except for the UK finances their staged videos. But here it is. This is their favorite task of those Ukrainians, because they think that they are so European and Western, that they obviously have this racial attitude towards dirty Slavs like Russians, and of course, especially of those Asiatic people. And this meme existed since, I don't know, those Buryat people, they from Siberia, and they're kind of Mongoloid people. Many of them are really nice people. They're very fearless warriors, and there you go. Here's your Ukrainian Pravda, which is really funny and ironic, because Pravda in Russian means truth. They talk about the Buryat troops have been withdrawn from Sievierodonetsk because they drop like a flies fighting, heroic Ukrainian defenders. Well, let me give you some news, and this is kind of, anybody who has a half brain actually at this stage knows that Sievierodonetsk is done. It's practically all cleaned and mopped up and taken by Russians, and the rest of the traditionally now remnants of the Ukrainian troops, and of course their hostages, which are civilians and a human shield, they are taken into the territory of this huge azot, which is nitrogen, chemical plant, and they are surrounded by human shield and those containers with their chemicals, which they promise to explode, and they're basically they try to do the Mariupol thing to 2.0. It's not Mariupol 2.0, and even Mariupol 1.0, you know where it all came down to and how it ended, with 2,500 of Nazis surrendering. And Russians still kind of, cleaning up all those innards of the Azov steel plant, and there are many other corpses, and so it's pretty grim picture. So if the guys want to repeat this Azov thing, Azov style thing in Sievierodonetsk, sure, they're already basically surrounded. There's nothing there. And news today actually in Russia that they were already trying to contact Russian troops and kind of arrange some kind of negotiations. The response from Russians was, of course, very simple. There is no negotiations, there is no conditions. There is only one thing: unconditional surrender, laying down the arms, getting out of there, first releasing civilians used to as human shield, and then that's it, your POWs for VSU soldiers, and for Nazis, where it is all going. You may ask the guys from this British guys, two British guys and one Moroccan, which have been sentenced in Donetsk to 2 days, or maybe yesterday, I don't remember, so it's easy to find, to death sentence, basically. And as one of them, Sean Pinner, so-called mercenary, stated, you know what, never get involved into the war, nature which you do not understand. Wow, that's really wise, This is exactly what Alexander Svechin was talking about, in his strategy thing. You have to understand the nature of the conflict. You have to understand the nature of the war. Evidently, the thing which West doesn't understand. And Liz Truss, this comic relief of the, degeneracy of the British elites, she already stated that those guys are actually not mercenaries. They are prisoners of war. No, they are not. They're mercenaries, and they are not subjects or are not covered by the Geneva Convention, and so they most likely will be executed, but there is some chance that, their thing will be appealed, and then, of course, we'll see how the United Kingdom takes care of their own, how humanitarian they are, because obviously Russians will make show out of it, and I would, and there you go. Now, here comes the other thing. You see this picture? This is the bridge which is open today between Russian Blagoveshchensk and Chinese Haihe over Amur River. It's a strategically huge event. The bridge was being built for actually about 3 years. Russians had to deal with a huge issue with the changing shores of Amur River, unlike it was easier on the Chinese side. So finally this was resolved, and now you have Haihe and Russian Blagoveshchensk connected together, and guess what? It can, the bridge can handle up to 600, not up to 600 heavy trucks a day. And you can see even on the bridge, there's on the Chinese side there what is called the customs. And that will boost tremendously the border trade and other trade between Russia and China. And obviously, if you go and read about it somewhere, for example, like this neoconoilprice.com or something, they're obviously fuming there. Oh yeah, they think that that's going to increase anything. Yeah, it is going to increase anything. It is going to increase already a very large trade between Russia and China. China, and this bridge is just another link, so to speak, in this whole chain which connects Russians and Chinese in this respect. And again, as I stated, I stated it before, and I want to stress it again. I do not want to overstate Russian-Chinese cooperation, but it is there. And in fact, we have de facto military alliance. And in this particular case, I want to use again one of my wonderful writers, so to speak, posters on my discussion boards and my blog, stated that actually Russia and China do not stand shoulder to shoulder, but they sure as hell stand back to back. And in this particular case, this is a strategic event. And yeah, you can immediately see the reaction. They begin to fume and, just being very unhappy about what is going on between Russia and China. And now when you look at the general economic situation in Europe, it becomes all clear, because in the United States we already know that there are, inflation, it's runaway inflation, is going to get much worse. You don't need to be Janet Yellen to understand that. Of course, we have this whole clusterfuck with the energy, especially oil. And evidently, Biden administration still continues to push this green agenda. They want the solar and electric. So, well, it looks like they want to really, if you don't see the example of Europe, which basically bankrupted itself, and it's going really badly there, then United States, which actually nominally energy self-sustainable state primarily, there are some issues which, but we obviously have this issue that somebody wants to drive United States into this green utopia, and basically green utopia is a euphemism for bankrupting the country, which already is bankrupt basically with their national debt. Nobody even counts anymore. It's just United States just prints money. So that's the other thing. Now, for the lovers of the military porn and all those technophilia and, oh my God, all those, toys, gizmos, gadgets, doing and flying, doing the combat in Ukraine. So, okay, here's a good piece for you. And as you can see yourself, it's Russian mainstream media who say that, yeah, the sources report that actually the Su-57s, Su-57s have been used very successfully in Ukraine against especially Ukrainian air defense, which, mind you, unlike Iraqi air defense, actually Ukrainians, they do have air defense, and some of it is pretty darn good, even if you consider the older versions of S-300s and Buk M1, which are very good air defense complexes, despite the fact that they are already, just basically 40 years old. But these are real deal, and especially if they have been upgraded somewhat, they have some issues of the digital processing of data arranged for them, which most likely some of them received it. So yeah, it's a serious air defense. Even Russian pilots who actually fly there, they say, no, it's serious. You have to really be on your toes, and so. But it's still, Russians, annihilated. Now we have the situation with the reports that some 4 Su-57s fly information, and they do it, and they annihilate air defense of Ukraine, S-300s, Buks and what have you, using obviously the thing which is actually organic to any modern Russian aircraft, be that Su-37, Su-30SM, Su-35, and now Su-57, which are all Netcentric capable. They fight using basically principles or the framework of the Netcentric warfare. We're going to be talking about this. It's not just tactical, it's operational thing. And you can always look up Admiral Cebrowski, and I will also leave the link to their fundamental work, Netcentric Warfare. Alberts and Garska also co-authored it in 1999. You want to kind of get yourself into it to understand this. But everything starts with, of course, very, very simple thing. What is Netcentric Warfare? Well, Netcentric warfare is where every single combat platform becomes an informational node. And as you can see yourself from this picture, this is what it is. It's actually a business model. It's called the Metcalfe's law, and it's the law of the nodes. And if you have a simplex communications, which is, exchange of information, simplex meaning you can only make the communication from me to you and not back. In military, of course, it doesn't work like that because everybody has duplex, which is back and forth, two connections, so to speak. Well, it's one connection, but two interactions. And as you can see yourself, in my book, for example, Real Revolution in Military Affairs, I was discussing this famous, absolutely stunning masterpiece of James Cameron, Aliens, when I was talking about the colonial marines there. And, you have the Lieutenant Gorman sitting there in the APC and having all those, video screens and feedbacks, from the heartbeat to what have you from his colonial marines. And, that's basically what it is. I mean, in primitive way. Obviously, it's much more complex, and there is a lot of math and physics which goes into it. But as you can see yourself, using this example, you have to understand that the number of interactions, or what is called also the value of the informational network, the way they can communicate back and forth between each other, is calculated by this very simple formula. And I give their examples there. And as you can see yourself, it is the number of the nodes plus one node, essentially. This is n squared plus n for a smaller number of nodes. So if you look, for example, at what is called звено, the link in Russian tactical lingo for Air Force and combat air operations, you will have, for example, 4 Su-57s. You have obviously what? 4 squared, which is 16, plus another 4, so to speak. And what you have 16 plus 4, you have 20. So in basically, if you have this the link, so to speak, or the squad or what have you of Su-57s, 4 of them, you will have 20 interactions basically going on there between each other. And of course, it's just what we are told, because you have to understand that Su-35s and Su-30SMs, they are all also fully Netcentric warfare-oriented combat aircraft. They have all appropriate data links, and I am pretty sure that this is just the part of the iceberg which we are, so to speak, being shown, because obviously they're pretty much all part of Su-35s and Su-37s, which are actively involved in the war in Ukraine. They are completely capable to operate and expand network. And then, of course, we have this other interesting thing that all T-90M, which are Prorыв breakthrough tanks of Russia, not to speak of T-14 Armata, they are also network-centric capable. That means they create not only the network between each other, but they also are capable to plug into the topology of the network is such that they can easily plug in the higher level network, and they communicate and even provide whatever information to even, for example, you can have the network between three T-90M and 2 Su-57 or 2 Su-35s. They interact with each other, provide each other with the targeting, situational awareness, and you literally see the whole battlefield. And that's what is so important about this, because obviously, and I already stated, I mean, Russians were working this thing out for a long time now. Some people mistakenly actually thought that the initial about 15 years ago, Russian transition to the brigade size was even driven by the, installation, so to speak, or developing of the network-centric warfare. But obviously, brigade size doesn't matter. Network is a network. You can operate on the level of the company network, if you wish, or you can operate on the level of the division network. Network is a network. It's how you plug it in and how you develop. You need a lot of processing power, obviously, and very sophisticated electronics, including secure data links. Russia has it. So, in fact, there are only 2 countries who have it. It's Russia and the United States. The rest are not even close in this respect. And obviously, you have to understand this is the first time the use of the net-centric warfare in the first truly massive and really complex combined arms operation. This is really serious, guys. And of course, the combat experience from that, I mean, I cannot even emphasize enough how important it is and how it will affect the future development of the warfare. And this is what I wanted to tell you, that, yeah, evidently Russians run the whole net-centric paradigm there. And, well, I mean, they were doing this from the get-go. It's just that for the people who love those gizmos, sexy planes, sexy other things, you know, like sexy tanks, what have you, you know, and they love this military porn. Here it is. Here's your proof that military porn, you know, on the high level for many masturbators, you know, to military technology who say, oh my God, the Su-57s fly. The Su-57s were flying already combat missions in Syria to start with. So, and this is just absolutely normal, and the Su-57s were involved in the combat in Ukraine from the get-go, from the first day. So it's not like it's anything truly special, but I wanted to give you a little bit of the introduction towards this net-centric warfare thingy. And again, as I stated, I will also leave the wonderful introduction and truly brilliant mind. Cebrowski, late Admiral Cebrowski, was a brilliant man. I mean, when it wasn't kind of going into the issue of the automation and reduction of the Navy, which United States Navy is still having hiccups from that, but the ideas, the operational view on that, so even strategic one, you know, on the fact that you can use and leverage the informational dominance was absolutely magnificent. It was brilliant. And Russians were also following this, and make no mistake, Russians have been doing net-centric warfare since 50s, since the first complexes of the guided missiles from the submarines. And I spoke about this already before. If need be, I will reiterate this point when we're going to be getting into the again, back to operations. But I have to admit that these were brilliant ideas, you know, which accounted for the development of the new technologies, of course, which is kind of IT technologies, internet technologies, and new means and other protocols of communications, including a very narrow, which is almost array kind of beam type communications, when you can communicate and send messages radio way in such way that it will be very difficult to suppress. And the basically classic electronic warfare methods or electronic countermeasures do not work that easily on the networks. So, but it's a separate issue. We're going to be talking about it when I will be talking about the issue of the operations. Hopefully, I will be coming back with this fairly soon. But this is what I wanted to tell you today, and I hope you enjoyed this, you know, brain-crunching issue. And yeah, I cannot live without math, you know, that. So you have to, guys, you know, surrender to the fact that you will be thrown at, you know, or I will throw at you some math periodically, some of it very simple, but yeah, we will get to slightly more complex combat math at some point of time. So this is what I wanted to tell you today. As always, those who like me, or rather what I say, you don't have to like me, you can actually hate me. But if you like what I say, please subscribe to my channel. And again, my profound gratitude to my patrons and those who can afford. Please support me on Patreon. I think so with the good support, we can develop this channel into something really special. And again, as I stated, I mean, I, at some point of time, just got tired of listening to the amateur sophomoric BS in terms of warfare and how operations are done. So, that's my talk for today, guys, and have a nice weekend, you know, relax and rest. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.